Hi, I'm Oliver Lundy. I make automotive photography videos, and in this video I'm going to do another critique of your photos. So the reason why I love doing these critiques is A, because I get to see your work and actually play around with the images myself, but also you can actually learn a lot from looking and critiquing not only your own work but other people's work as well. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at 3 different photos from 2 different photographers, and there's a real nice mixture in there, so you should hopefully get something from at least one of them. I'm going to be telling you what I like, potentially how they could have been improved or what I would have done differently, and then also how I would have edited them. Now, friendly reminder, there's no such thing as right or wrong when it comes to photography. If you like it, then it's not wrong. Now, with that said, really great photography is the combination of lots and lots of small things all done really well that adds up to a much more impactful image, or a much more a stronger image, or something that's going to resonate with people more. There's no real objective way of saying good or bad or better. It's a deeply personal thing, but so for each photo, I'm going to be going through the technical elements, exposure, focus, lens choice, that kind of thing, then the lighting, the composition, and then any editing choices that have been made. And that's going to be my go-to for every critique. And finally, before we jump into these images, if you want your own images to be featured in one of these videos, I am going to be doing more of these, then send an email to Oliverlundyphoto@gmail.com with 3 images, or up to 3 images with the raw file and your final image. Make sure that you include your Instagram handle in the email so that I can shout you out when I make the video. Okay, so the first photographer we're going to be looking at is a chap called VBB_photography, and he sent in a bunch of different images, but I picked out 2 that I think are going to be the most useful for you. So we're going to dive right in now. Okay, so here is the first of the 3 images, and as you can see, it's a really cool shot of a VW, and there's quite a lot to talk about on this one, but the very first thing would be the crop. Again, there's quite a lot of space around the foreground of this image here, and then I actually quite like the background, and the overall setting is very good, and technically it's absolutely fine. It's possibly slightly underexposed, but he may have been shooting this to maintain the highlights. And if we look at his edit, he's addressed quite a lot of that. So as you can see, he's lifted the shadows quite a bit. He's added some haze in the back and the foreground here, and the car stands out really nicely. And overall, the image is very strong. A couple of quick things. There's quite a lot of empty space in this foreground here, and the top half of the image. So this image, if we look at kind of this section of the image and this section of the image, neither one of them really adds much to this image. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is a crop just to narrow it down. I'm going to be going with a wide angle. And then there's some distractions in the background, this sign post here and a few other bits and pieces in the background, and potentially these posts and trees in the background here as well, are slight distractions away from the car. And if we're talking about what to do in terms of ideals, then we're going to address that. So if we look at my version, here's the final image. I'm going to take you through all of the edits. So as you see, it's quite a few layers. So all I've done first of all is I've cropped everything. So I've cropped the bottom and the background out at the top of the image, because I think it's stronger as a wide angle image. The car looks bigger in the frame, and as I said before, there wasn't really much going on in the top and lower half of the images, so I think a narrower crop here works quite well. So let's go through some of these edits. So first of all, there's just a lighting adjustment on the right, and I'd imagine there's going to be quite a lot of that. So the first sort of major update here is I've added some of these sort of falling leaves, because I'm going for an autumnal vibe with this one, as there's quite a lot of nice autumnal colours in the original image. Just again adding elements. Now this is adding a haze, and as you can see, I've already got rid of the distractions in the background there, as well as the post in the background there. Then this is a lighting upgrade just to give a little bit more pop. Now this is a hue adjustment just to make the oranges really stand out and pop against the slight tealy silver of the car. And then just a curves layer just to bring out some of the light in the front of the car there. So overall, you can see it's quite a big difference, especially if we look at the original edit. Okay, and the second shot is this rolling shot of a Ford Fiesta. Overall, technically very well captured. It's absolutely sharp. Rolling shots are very difficult to get right, and you've got a nice bit of motion blur in the wheels and in the road. So overall, great capture. Here's the edit from VBB Photography. Very strong edit, really punched up the blues from the car, also bluey purple, and just enhanced some of the details. And again, very strong final image from him. So a few things that I would change about this. First of all, we've got a kind of Dutch angle going on, which is where effectively you've intentionally tilted the horizon. It is used in film and video to kind of to make you feel slightly uneasy. So if a character is experiencing some kind of turmoil or stress or sudden shock or something, you know, everything's just gone wrong, then they'll quite often use Dutch angles to kind of to communicate that, you know, through cinematography. I'm not a massive fan of Dutch angles, so personally I would level it out, which is one of the first things I do in a minute. There's also a few distractions. We've got these poles in the background which are relatively easy to get rid of in Photoshop, and the sky, you know, it's been shot on a cloudy day, so you've got kind of a blown out, well, not quite blown out, but just a relatively white, relatively boring sky. So we're going to try and do something with that. So first of all, I've leveled it out, which of course has then added some extra sort of void space, which I'll have to fill in. But this, personally, I think that this crop and this level works better for this type of image. Then I've done a sky replacement, and again, that's just to try and give the overall image a sense of completeness, rather than it being sort of almost the entire top half of the image, just kind of a big white sky. This was done using the standard sky replacement tool within Photoshop. And then here are the rest of my edits. So all I've done is I've moved some of the poles in the background. I've added some light flare into the headlights and some adjustment to sort of show that it's a slightly darker time of day, because if you were shooting this at sunset or sunrise, then you know, it would be darker, it wouldn't be so flat as it was before. And then I've just punched up the car a little bit with some dodging and burning, and the overall impact is that you go from something that's quite flat like this to something like this. And if we compare them to the original edit, the actual car looks quite similar. If anything, looking at it now, I think the car looks better in his edit, but the overall image, I think, is improved by the sky replacement, just to give it, you know, that sense of completion and to balance out the frame, rather than having that whole top band that was completely white. So overall, some really strong images from VBB Photography. The VW down the lane, very cool shot, and this rolling shot from the Fiesta. Well worth checking out his account, VBB_photography. If we scroll through, you can see he's got some really strong images, and obviously gets to shoot a lot of different types of cars. So do go and drop him a follow, tell him I sent you, and yeah, just enjoy his work. Okay, so the second photographer is a chap called Jr.Snapz with a Z, so SNAPZ. And is a UK based photographer, and again, very strong, technically very sound, got a lot of really good work on his account. If we scroll through, you can see lots of rolling shots, generally just very strong images, and gets to shoot some pretty cool cars as well. I saw an image of his, and I actually asked him if I could use it for this video, because I think it demonstrates some of the principles really well, and it's this image here. So it's a picture of effectively a car that's made to look like a rally car, and I believe has had lots of modifications to effectively make it a rally car for the road. It's a really awesome focus, and this is his image, and the edit that he's done was very strong, and what he did is he sort of blurred the wheels to give the sense of motion, and kicked out some dust out the back as well. And if you look at this image here, you can see it. So So as you can see in his edit, he's darkened down the sky to bring some of the detail back, and he's added some mud and dirt being kicked up by the wheels to add to the sense of motion. He did tell me that this image was taken in motion, so this car was ripping around the corner and he's managed to grab this shot as the car comes around. So doing a shot in motion, it's actually quite difficult to do a panning shot where you also slow the shutter speed down enough that the wheels are blurred and that you might even get some background blur, because you have to get the shutter speed exactly perfect for the speed of the car, and it makes it quite hard to get the car sharp. So in this instance, he's shot it at quite a high frame rate, which has frozen the car still, which is great, so the car is perfectly sharp, but it also effectively now looks like it's just parked in that spot on that corner. So we're going to try and address that with the edit. Again, other than that, technically there's a little bit of glare on the bonnet and the windscreen, which could potentially have been addressed with a polarizer, but he may have well been using a polarizer for this right side. And also, technically there's nothing else really wrong with this shot. It's been done well. Technically there's nothing wrong with this photo at all. Compositionally, I think that the car's right in the middle of the frame, which generally speaking doesn't quite look right for cars that are in motion. You either want to have it slightly set back from the middle or slightly forward of the middle. And there's a few distracting elements. So I don't like this fence that's along the left hand side. These branches poking out the back of the car kind of interrupt the overall line of the car. So we're going to try and do something about that as well. So first step is to crop, and actually I've done all of this in one step. So I've added a little bit of extra room on this left hand side to effectively shift the car to the right, and I've done the sky replacement already, which as you can see is kind of given again, whereas before you had sort of a big blank sky, now you've got a little bit more balance against the foreground. And the other thing I've done is I've taken out the trees that were poking out of the back of the car. Then I've just added a little bit of motion blur. So if you can see, the background now is effectively moving. So this is as if you've taken the shot on a pan and you've snapped it, and there's a little bit of motion as the car's whipping past. But now it doesn't make sense that the wheels are straight, are still. So in this one, I've blurred the wheels. So there's various different techniques for this, but effectively for this one, all I did was copy them and rotate them slightly, copy them, rotate them slightly, copy them, rotate them slightly, and now it gives the effect of blur. And then you just mask out the bits around it. So I've then added some lights. This is a rally car. If this was a rally car with some hardcore rally lights, then I thought that why not add that in, because it gives it a little bit of drama. And then I've added some dust, and the dust is effectively being kicked up by the wheels that are now spinning. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of dust coming off this car now. Again, that's just layering in some overlays of dust and dirt, and just lowering the opacity and blurring it enough to make it look like it could be realistic. And then I've just added a few extra lighting adjustments and final dust particles, and then an overall darkening of the image, and that's it for this one. So between the starting image and the final image, there's quite a dramatic difference. I've sort of gone a bit over the board with this one on terms of taking a day image and trying to turn it into a darker dusk image, but I think any one of these elements could be fun to try out. So extending your images and removing distractions, trying a sky replacement to balance out your image, trying to add motion to a car that was moving but is static in the image, so by blurring the wheels, by adding dust if it's off-road, and potentially some motion. If you want me to go into detail on any of these things, then do let me know, because each one of them is quite an involved technique. And then finally an overall edit to try and make the car pop out a bit by darkening down the rest of the frame. So the reason why I wanted to do this photo is because I could sort of see this image in my mind, and the base image was so strong and so well captured that it was a really easy edit to do. and I was really happy with the outcome. So big thank you to Jr.Snapz for letting me do this with his image and for being featured in this video. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. I hope that that's been useful for you. I hope that these little ideas and little methods might actually help you with your own photography. If you have got something from this, then do drop me a like and do drop me a comment if you have any questions, and do let me know if you want me to do a more in-depth video on any one of these individual techniques. I'm kind of breezing over a lot of this stuff just to give you an overview of the edit rather than a how-to on how to do any individual thing. So if you do want that from me, then let me know and I'll see what I can do about it. And then finally, if you want to see more from me, then do subscribe. I've got lots more videos coming up, both on editing and in shooting, and I hope to see you in the next video.